They're going to have that confidence, that math confidence is really, really important. Because when they start moving through the math curriculum, they want to feel successful in terms of not stumbling over what a basic math computation that they're doing. When we're going into those more complex concepts that are moving from very concrete to more abstract. So I cannot emphasize enough the math fact, because in the classroom, when I started teaching at Academy 20-some years ago, we used to send home in first grade. It was just kind of built in 30 math addition problems or subtraction problems every single night. That doesn't happen anymore. So for a whole lot of really good reasons. I mean, the homework in first grade when I first started was at least 45 minutes to an hour. And that was the expectation. So we've come a long way from that. And that was the expectation. So that meant it could take an hour and a half to 2 hours for a first grader. So what's really important is that you practice those facts, and so that they gain that confidence along with just feeling comfortable with that part of the math, doing that. Because there are ways that teachers will assess their math facts comfort starting in second grade and in third grade, and you don't want to have the anxiety behind that. Okay, so third grade, we continue on, and it now increases a little bit more, and it's the first time with the introduction of assignment books that they're actually writing their assignments down. So altogether, a total of about 45 minutes would be the expectation for third graders. If your child is taking 2 hours, that's too long. If they're taking half an hour, that's okay too. But it's kind of a combination of the reading, the math, and the spelling, and I've kind of broken it down approximately how much time each of those should take. I solicited this, I didn't create this. I solicited this from the teachers, and this is what they're thinking when they're making up the assignments. Some nights might be a little less, and some nights might be a smidge more, but it should never be double. And there shouldn't be frustration, but I'll get to that in just a second. Then by fourth grade, we are on the cusp of middle school. So there's the introduction of using a binder and writing down all of your assignments. And as well as long-term assignments, whether it's with the weekly reader, that is a weekly assignment. And again, it should take a total of 30 minutes to complete it. Again, if your son or daughter waits till Thursday and they have everything else, it's really not good time management. So you want to have them, get used to doing a couple pages a night so that they're able to do the other parts of their homework, which is spelling, math, and then reading. Sometimes the reading is part of the literature circle group that they'll have, so that can count towards their minutes. It's not necessarily only independent reading at that point, but so the minutes reading could be a history book, their social studies book that they're reading, they have a reading assignment. But in fourth grade, if you start to get the additional, social studies is one of the things that's not necessarily up there, but there could be an assignment. So it's getting them ready for introducing them. We're still teaching fourth grade, it still should be developmentally appropriate, but you're trying to expose them and get them ready for they're going to experience in the middle school. So hopefully that's kind of gives you an overall sense of the continuum. Pre-K 10 minutes, kindergarten 15 minutes first, 25 and so on. So you can see that it's just a gradual progression through the lower school. One of the things that I think was fascinating for me, since I've been gone and coming back and then having children having gone through the lower school, was the level of organization that your children are exposed to, which is pretty impressive. So as early as pre-K, they get a folder, and that yellow, I don't know if they're all yellow, but they have that folder, it's in their backpack, and the teachers have put the information pretty much in it for them. By first grade, they will have a folder. And as you can see, it's got the explanation for you as to what's going to happen, and that's their reading book. That's what I say. Okay, sorry. That's kindergarten. Now first grade. First grade has 2 folders. And I don't know if everybody has that little bag, but in the class I went into, that's what they had. So the 2 folders, one is for reading, and one is for their spelling words. So the red one, I think, is for the spelling words, so it looks kind of like that. And it's even got, it's kind of the introduction to a binder, because they've got these little folders, and then it also gives you some helpful hints as to how to go through this. And it also has a reading log that's all set up for them. Next, in second grade, this folder was pretty incredible to me. This was new. I had not seen this one before, so it looks kind of like that. It's nicely folded up. And then inside, well, I'll go back to what's inside. What they are now starting to do, there'll be a weekly homework log, and the teacher will write up on the board or have filled in for them. So they're starting to actually write down their assignments. So hopefully you're seeing the progression from pre-K through to this point, second grade. And then within that folder, it's also got dividers, and they're able to basically keep everything together. So it really makes it difficult to lose it. I'll just say it that way. Difficult. It can happen. My experience, it happened frequently, but it makes it really hard to not have your homework. By third grade, they're writing down their assignments. This is what the teacher's written down, which mirrors exactly what the third grade assignment book that they received looks like. So they're writing down their assignments. Everything looks exactly the way it does in their assignment book in terms of the setup. And they also have a folder that has specifically return to school and keep it home. Now, sometimes when I was a third grade teacher, that folder would get thicker and thicker and thicker because the keep it home never stayed at home. So if you get into the routine of taking a look, asking to take a look at that folder, help them to manage that, hopefully it should stay fairly thin. Then by fourth grade, we've now moved to a binder, and which is what they'll use the rest of their career. Well, except for with iPads, that could all become a moot point. But anyway, at this point with paper, they are being introduced to how to use a binder. Not only that, the assignments are written on someplace every night or every day on the whiteboard that they are recording. They continue to have a assignment book that allows them to organize themselves. If you know the arrows that the student used, in terms of, that's just his own management of his assignment book. Not only in the assignment book is kept in the binder, also in the binder is a folder, a homework folder and a parent folder that stays at home. Hopefully it stays at home. So again, that progression from just that first one small thin folder to this binder is very intentional. Teachers have done a really good job of building on one year to the next and what would be developmentally appropriate. And also, hopefully, the goal is for the students to become increasingly responsible. So by fourth grade, you wouldn't necessarily, hopefully they're giving you the information. You're not having to dig through their backpack and find their, that folder. And it should become a routine. So are there any questions at this point?
I was going to ask just about that. So, for instance, for second grade, how much responsibility should they have? Because I find myself opening up the folder, going through, figuring out, putting out the homework. How much? You just said, by fourth grade, they should be pretty well. Oh, okay, good. I'm not being a crush right now, but sometimes I feel like he should be doing more of that.
What I would do is, first semester through winter break, you can, kind of guide them through it, and then you can try and see. I mean, whatever the grade, see if well, I wouldn't do it as soon as they get back, but maybe by February. See if they've gotten into the routine. You might be pleasantly surprised, unless you live in my house and you continue to do it. But I have a high schooler and I don't have to ask her anymore. So eventually it kicks in. I will say that. Kind of like pottery, but eventually it kicks in. So I've got a few tips that I'd like to offer, and then I'm going to, Paul and Sarah, you guys can come up here because I'm going to ask you to help me field questions with Paul Kagelmeyer and Sarah Penny are here to also answer specific questions or add anything in that they would like. But in terms of some helpful hints, the first big hint that I would offer or tip would be to sit down with your child, if you haven't done so already. Have the conversation about, okay, homework. Where are you going to do the homework? And once you've decided where that place is going to be, it can be in a corner in the living room or dining room or a great room. It could be at the kitchen table. Wherever that place is, doesn't have to be at a desk. I mean, it can be, but you want them to be comfortable. Some places where there's minimal distractions and they have all the materials they need. So this little bucket is just kind of an example. So they have their pens, pencils, so they're not getting up. I don't know where, I don't have my crayon. It's a good stall tactic. And it's very effective, and it draws you into the, I gotta help them, because I don't want them to not have. So have everything in one place, and it can be portable, because maybe one night, the dining room table or the kitchen table is the place they want to do their homework. But another time, as long as it's free of the distractions, and whether it's siblings or it's the television or the draw of the computer or whatever, just so that they have found someplace in the house where either they can come ask for help easily, or you can kind of monitor what's going on, and monitor being the key word there. So that all of their materials are in one place. The other part of that conversation is to say to them, so it should not be a battle. You say, okay, we're going to have the last conversation about homework. Not really, but you could say to them, when do you want to start your homework? Do you want to start it as soon as we get home? Do you want to start at 10 minutes? Do you want to have half an hour of playtime? Let them be part of that decision making that's realistic. You may have to guide them a little bit. But then it's kind of a contract. Okay, if you say we're going to start at 5 o'clock after we've had a snack and you've watched your favorite little show, at 5 o'clock we are doing homework, and this is not up for negotiation. That's the language I have to use in my house. So, you have to just set a time or after a certain, whatever after soccer or after we're going to start homework, and hold them to it. Hold them accountable to it. Now, the battle begins and they don't want to. It is not you shouldn't feel responsible if they don't do their homework. If they don't do their homework, it's kind of their, we understand understanding that it's their job to do the homework. But if they are fighting you on it, email, say, okay, well, I'll just send an email, I'm going to let your teacher know that this was a little tough. You kind of assess, are they really tired? Are they getting enough sleep? There are all these variables that could play into it. And let the teacher know. That being said, if a pattern begins, then that's a whole different conversation. But I would definitely work with the teacher as trying to figure out what it is that's where the battle is. Because my children knew what buttons to push with me. I don't know about your kids, but they did. And so they knew when when I was at the breaking point, basically. And when I was going to give in. And that was with the first one. The second one, I was much better. But, so you really, once you've had that established, what the expectation is, then you can just go forward. So, going way longer. if you have homework that is where you're seeing let's say, now you have the routine set up, what do you do if you're seeing lots of mistakes? Or if they're struggling on it, there's tears, and I don't understand. Well, if it's math specifically, and you've seen them, they've got some computation errors. You can, if it's a sheet of paper that has a number of problems on it, 5 or 10, and you see 3 mistakes, you could say, I would recommend that you say, well, I see 3 mistakes. Let them try and find the mistakes. Again, if it's taking too long, just let it go, because then the teacher it's kind of a home assessment for the teacher the next day to see, okay, this child did not understand this. Or if you're having to reteach a concept, don't reteach the concept. Because it's just going to make it that much more challenging for you as well as for them. If they don't understand something, again, write a little note if your child is okay with, Sally, they really didn't understand this, or if they're not comfortable and they don't, send an email to the teacher, but also encourage your child to go to the teacher and say, I really didn't get this. Now I know I'm saying this, and the reality is a lot of the children are uncomfortable and they don't want their teacher to think they don't understand something, but the teachers really do want to know if they don't, because if 6 or 7 kids come, they know that, okay, I really need to reteach. But if everybody comes in with it all 100%, they have no idea that this was difficult. Or if it takes an exceptional amount of time, they also need to know that, because if everybody is taking a lot of time, then that means they need to adjust. So that kind of information is not looked on as whining or negative. It's really important feedback that teachers appreciate. The last thing I want to say, so that I can have an opportunity for you to ask questions, is about reading and math. I mentioned already about the math. It's really, really important to practice those math facts constantly as you get into even 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade. Just because they passed the mad minute on addition doesn't mean you shouldn't continue to practice addition factors. Kind of that use it or lose it. You want to go ahead and continue to practice those. And then in terms of reading, it's really important to listen to your children read aloud, either as the books get longer, just a paragraph or 2, for you to read with them. And something a parent actually a colleague told me that she did, and I had such aspirations to do it, so I'm going to pass it on to you as, you can still do what I wanted to do. And that is continue reading aloud with your child. And she did it up until the time her child was a junior or senior in high school. Just because that time together is just precious. And once that routine is in place, I wish I had done it. I tried to recreate it this last summer and read The Life of Pi with my then sophomore. Life got in the way and I didn't do it. And I really wish I had, because she loves to read, I love to read, and that would be just the last tip that I would offer, to try and incorporate that, even if it's not every night, maybe on every Sunday or something, because it is a special bond, and it also allows you the opportunity to continue to develop that critical thinking. So, thank you. Any questions?